what's happening with the royal family as well, which is always seen, as the model for stability and everything just, life trundles on, doesn't it? The royal family is always there. But certain things have been happening which are very destabilising within the royal family. And of course, there's so much talk. I know it's all speculation, but so much talk about, is this the beginning of the end for the royal family? Anyway, it's certainly the beginning of the end from that point of view for the man formerly known as Prince Andrew, who is now known, of course, as Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. Yeah, on top of everything else, though, it seems now he could be in line for a one-off payment and even an annual stipend to help him deal with his new life as a commoner. And meanwhile, the government says it has no plans to pass a law removing Andrew Mountbatten Windsor from the line of succession, meaning that technically he is still in line to the throne, number 8. Yeah, but in terms of these payoffs and things, is that going to come from the taxpayer? And if so, should we be paying for that? More likely, of course, it's all coming directly from the king, actually, because obviously there's no appetite for the taxpayer paying for anything. But what about the line of succession? Is it worth removing? He's 8th. Is it worth trying to remove him? That would be constitutionally very complex. Yeah, because he was, after all, born into the royal family. Anyway, let's talk to Grant Harrold, former royal butler, on this. What do you think? You know more than most about the character of the man. After all of this, the stripping of his titles, which must really hurt him, I would have thought. How do you think he will be affected? Because there are hints that some of the family are a bit worried about his mental health with all this happening to him.
Absolutely. Good morning to you both. No, that's one thing that I've obviously been thinking about, because the royal family are obviously huge advocates and supporters of mental health. And even though a lot of people get annoyed at me probably saying this, but obviously he still is a human being at the end of the day, and it is definitely going to affect his mental health. I think he will. The character that I remember, unfortunately, he was never rude to me, but he was slightly quite kind of dismissive, because I was there as a butler, and there was never any kind of conversation. He was the only royal that I never ever had any kind of conversation with, is in a kind of, even in a social situation, which I was lucky enough to be invited to several different events, including the King's wedding. And he would never go out his way because you were staff, he wouldn't kind of speak to you. So he was always quite dismissive. He was never rude, just very kind of dismissive. But I can imagine, this weekend, he's going to be furious. Obviously he's going to be probably sad and upset and all sorts of emotions, but he's known for a temper, and I think he will be kind of not happy with this whole entire situation. But, with the greatest of respect, he has brought it upon himself.
Absolutely. And we, any concerns we might feel for his mental health, that's up to his family whether they feel that. But one also has to remember that Virginia Giuffre, who is the woman who actually made the first accusations against him, which he denies completely. Her mental health in the end suffered so badly that she took her own life just a few months ago. We have to remember the victims in this, which Andrew has never said himself, even though the King and Queen chose to at the end of their statement.
Well, see, that's the interesting thing, Anne. My gut feeling there's something bigger going to come out. I think they're aware. The royal family are not silly. They know exactly what they're doing. And to remove these titles, to remove his title, to remove it, can I say his birthright, to take all that away, they wouldn't be dissing themselves, sending him all the way to Sandringham. They're not doing this lightly. There's something going on. There's something brewing. And I think they're getting ready basically for this. Whatever's going to happen, they're getting ready for it. And they're making sure that they're distanced as much as possible. But as you mentioned, the only tiny problem that I'm thinking, as well as being aligned to the throne, he's still a councillor of state, which means if the king wasn't able to fill out his duties, there's other members of council, there's other councillors of state. He is one of them still. So he's still got a bit of power and authority. And as we've mentioned, there's talk about the king still funding him. And I think that's still going to give an association with the royal family. I think that's dangerous. I think the king, I said the other day, the problem is the king's advised, but all these different advisors, people call them different things, private secretaries, advisors, men in suits, whatever you want to call them, they're there to advise them. And they're the ones that have got this badly wrong. That's my view. I think I've noticed a lot of comments, people saying that this should have been done years ago. The advisors are who keep them right. And at the end of the day, they should have probably said to him a long time ago, this is what we have to do. And the fact they haven't removed him as a councillor of state, at the same time as everything else is extraordinary. They've obviously just forgotten.
All right, Grant, we've got to leave it there for now, but thanks very much indeed. Well, a palace source has told GB News that allegations against Andrew should be examined in an appropriate way. Andrew himself has always vehemently denied all the allegations made against him.
Yeah, it's amazing how many people are getting in touch saying this is beginning to feel like a witch hunt. Is it?
No, I don't think so. I've got to be honest, I don't think so. I think this has probably been a long time coming. And it's necessary, I think it's absolutely necessary for the royal family to be able to create some clear blue water.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why lots of people speculate that behind this push against Andrew is very much the Prince and Princess of Wales, who are very aware that at some point they're going to take over the crown, the throne, and they want a clean sheet, I guess.
Yes, at which point I'd imagine Andrew, if he's still with us, will be out of Sandringham when William takes over.
Yes,
you would imagine.
So. Yeah.
Hello, I'm Bev Turner. Now, it can feel like the money in our bank accounts at the moment does not keep up with the cost of living, and maybe there's a solution. I'm here today with the CEO of TallyMoney, Cameron Parry. Cameron, what is TallyMoney?
Well, Bev, with TallyMoney, you get a current account and a debit card, but instead of pounds, you use milligrams of gold as your everyday money.
So why gold?
Gold traditionally is a great store of value. It has, on average, gone up at over 11% per annum for the last 25 years against the pound. It's tripled in value in the last decade. And in the last 2 years alone, it's increased by 50% against the pound. Banks' savings products just can't compete with that level of growth.
But this isn't just about gold. This is about a currency that you guys have created at TallyMoney. Explain it to me as though I'm an idiot.
So, look, people need to be able to hold their earnings and build their savings in a money that retains its value and remains in their legal control and remains theirs to access, away from government control.
Great. You had me at not exposed to government control.
You should feel safe and happy with your money. You should have peace of mind. The more money you see in your bank balance, and that's the type of thing we're trying to deliver, and give people choice in the type of money they get to use every day.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Cameron. Thank you.
Is he going to be entirely funded by the king now? And although he's still technically in line to the throne, I mean, there's not a chance in a million years, actually, he would get to that point, is there?
No, I don't think there is. He's eighth in line, and so it's highly unlikely. But it seems pointless sort of saying, oh, we're going to take you out of the line of succession, because he is in the line of succession for that reason. If you start taking one out, you may as well take them all out. So it makes no sense. If that were to happen, that suddenly it looked like he was going to become king, I think there would be a massive revolt and he would probably step down himself anyway. So that's the way I think that will go. But as far as the money goes, if the king's choosing to give his brother a gift of money, that's obviously down to the king. If the money is coming from the public purse, then that's a completely different matter. So I don't think that the king will use money that's come from the public at all. I think that would obviously be an unwise move, but it's already an unwise move moving him from one royal estate to another. We've already got people questioning why he should go and live up in Sandringham. The people up in Sandringham say they don't want him up there. And it just seems odd, sort of, it's almost like sort of moving a cup from one side of the table to the other and saying, there we go, we've done something. But it is a problem, and I think the king's trying to do what he can, and sort of thought maybe by sending him up to Sandringham, that's sort of getting him out the way.
It's also actually a private estate. It's privately owned, the Sandringham estate, isn't it? Rather than owned by the Crown and therefore us, the taxpayer, which means that the king can at least say, you, the taxpayer, you are no longer paying for Andrew.
I think, yes, and that's why he's sort of getting him up and out the way, as it were. But I think maybe a better way probably would have just been sort of quite honest to Andrew and saying, look, Princess Anne's got her own estate up at Gatcombe. I think maybe you should look for your own private estate that's not part of the royal circle. You know, once the king dies, it's going to then be William's. And what do we have then? We've got then William having to deal with the problem. So why not just say, look, can't we find you somewhere private? We'll help you. I know they're saying that he's not going to be moving out until at least the new year, which is a given considering the size of the house and all of the things that have got to happen to make that move happen as quick as possible. But yeah, it's a large house. There's a lot of problems that are going with this all.
You just can't imagine. I mean, you'll know better than us, Jack. I mean, we all have this impression now of this man who is completely out of touch with reality, who is incredibly arrogant, who has lived off his titles. To be fair, I mean, I know people might want more, but for him to be stripped back in this way is brutal, isn't it? I mean, he will be feeling that.
Oh, completely, as would anybody. I don't think it's right that he's been stripped of the prince title. He is a prince. He was born as a royal. So I don't know why they've chosen to take that title away from him. You know, it's a given. If you sort of checked his DNA, that's exactly where he's come from. I think they've done it. They needed to do something, and maybe this is the way that they felt. This is right. What we must do. We must strip him of everything. And if they've done that so that he can be looked into by the police, or if he can be sort of sent to America to answer questions, then you know, fantastic. But whether that will happen or not, we've got to wait and see. If he's sent up to Sandringham and he hides out in Sandringham, can he be questioned? Can he be brought to account for what's happened?